There's only one thing on this earth more powerful than evil, and that's us.
Hi guys, this is Claire Kramer, aka the Great Glorificus, and you are listening to the Buffy Back Issue Bed.
Welcome to the Buffy Back Issue, the show where we go through all the Buffy and Angel comics that are canon chronologically. I'm Zach.
And I'm Emily.
And I should have switched up the intro because for this month, we're back weekly. We're doing all of the Serenity books.
Yes, what's our new name?
Same name. This is a placeholder while we wait for season 12 to finish.
Yes, so the Whedon properties.
We're not going to do Dollhouse and Dr. Horrible.
So some of them.
Probably not. They're fine.
All right. Well, anyway.
End of review on those ones.
We're talking about Serenity and Firefly and all that good stuff.
And you might be thinking, there aren't that many Serenity comics. Do we really need a reading order on this? Haha, yes. Oh my god, they're even more confusing than the Buffy ones.
There's just fewer of them, though.
But it's all over the place. So the way we're going to treat this is all of the books that are out so far have been collected into 5 different editions, and you really got to jump all over the place to get the correct order on these. So we're going to...
And by correct, we mean chronological.
Yeah, and correct.
Okay, just checking. Just being explicitly clear.
So we are going to suss that out because it's a mess. So sit on down with your hardcovers. We're starting at the beginning, so, grab volume 2.
Yep, but don't read all of it.
Well, don't even start at the beginning. Jump to the second last story in the book.
How did you even figure this out?
Based on who is around.
Please note, dear reader, that I don't figure out the chronological order. I just read them. Did I say reader? I meant listener.
I don't know. Whichever.
Either one.
Also, hey, because it's, end of June, beginning of July, depending on if you're on Patreon or not, sign up for our Patreon. We're going to be doing Patreon-exclusive reviews of Buffy Season 12 that comes out before we do our main coverage.
Yay.
Did you know that?
When does it come out?
Issue 1 will be out by the time this is out.
Do they come out monthly?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
It'll all work, even with your Japan trip.
Oh, I'm going to be gone for 12 days there in the middle.
It's like the second you come back, I'm like, new issue of Buffy, record a podcast.
Okay, cool. My weird jet lag. I'm going to be like 13 hours off. It's going to be hilarious.
Anywho, starting at the second to last issue in Volume 2, we are reading Downtime. This is a short written by Zach Whedon, art by Chris Samney, who's a pretty big-time artist for Marvel. Or I don't think he has an exclusive contract, but he's done a ton of Marvel work and a ton of work other places. Good, smooth. That was almost a sentence. This is the first time this story has been published in print media. Originally, it was released at all places on USA Today's site with some kind of deal they had with Dark Horse.
Really? When was that?
Don't remember.
You always remember things like this.
The date, let's say August 12th, 2009.
Okay. I was really just looking for the year, but sure.
That's all a lie. I have no idea.
All right. Well, whatever.
Don't double check. So we open up right after the show Firefly, or sometime after the show Firefly ends, with the ship Serenity sitting in a snowstorm.
Yep, and we don't really see temperatures like this very often in the show Firefly.
Gotta imagine planets have snowy conditions.
I mean, we saw that one that they brought that dead body back to.
Yeah.
But anyway, they are in the snow, and Wash is like, Mal, we can't fly because I can't see anything. So we're kind of grounded here for a bit.
Mal gets all pissy. He's like, you could do it. You've done it before. And Zoe's like, yeah, I bet you can. He's like, and Wash is like, come on, dear. Side with the husband. She's like, yes, he can't fly through this.
So they're like, well,
marital tensions.
I guess we'll just hang out until the storm passes. So we see what the crew do in their downtime.
Jane in his downtime apparently gets venereal diseases.
And then has to get him checked out.
By Simon. And they do note the real flaw of the medical bay on the ship, that it's nothing but windows. So Jane pulls his pants down to show his VD, only for Kaylee and Book to be looking through the window and being like, that is not pretty.
Yep.
Jane also gets concerned that Simon is going to give him a shot in the dick. He's like, easy does it. It's a shot in the arm.
Yeah. I'm not sure you can say that on our show.
Why?
I don't know.
That's what happens.
And meanwhile, while this is happening,
following that hilarious scene of sexually transmitted diseases,
River goes wandering out into the snow, barefoot, wearing nothing but a summer dress, as River would.
In the snow.
And she immediately finds a band of miscreants, or not very nice-looking people.
If you will.
But nobody's really noticed that River's gone on the ship, which is a little sad, in a way. I mean, I know she does weird things, but wouldn't you think they'd be like, hey, did somebody leave the door open to the outside world? Anyway, they don't notice.
They're having an awkward dinner where Kaylee gets into trouble for noticing that Wash and Zoe just had sex, and then Zoe glares at her.
Yeah.
Only for Simon to come in and break the tension by mentioning that Jane has an STD.
And Jane's like, what about that doctor-patient confidentiality?
It's like, this is hilarious and I don't care.
Pretty much.
Only to cut back to River outside where there's just a pile of massacred bodies.
I know, she kills them too. It's not like she just knocks them out in the snow.
Oh, yeah,
There's a lot of blood.
that dude doesn't have a head.
No, it's not good.
I don't even know how she did that.
And then she finds a bird that she bonds with for a minute.
She goes back inside, and Simon's like, why were you outside? She's like, I saw a bird. It's
Yeah,
like,
and he just takes that as like an answer.
yeah, and they're like, oh, the storm's clearing up. Okay, let's leave.
But Book seems to know that River was up to more than just
Very intuitive.
seeing a bird.
Yeah, she's like, I went to go see snowmen, and they all fell down. He's like, did they all fall down? She's like, yeah, I took them out. What up?
'Cause
You
she
would
doesn't
too,
actually-
asshole.
She doesn't say any of that. She says things that give you that impression minus that tone and language.
No, the dialogue is more interesting. Book's like, did you knock them down? And she's like, it was easy. I turned out their lights. She goes, you're keeping a secret. He goes, what's my secret? It's easy for you too. And then, end of the story. Because Book is a murderer.
Yeah, and also,
We know that. It's been implied. And that's the end of this USA Today exclusive.
so weirdly dark. Not a lot happens, but
It's fine.
it's cool.
Yeah, just a little-
Everybody does exactly what you think that everybody would based on the show, which I feel really good about. Everybody sounds like everybody. So it's just like we got a little 5-minute snippet from the show that doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
So sticking with your volume 2, look, it's a confusing order.
But now we're going to read the main
Go
story in volume 2.
all the way back to the beginning of your books.
What's it called?
Are you ready, children? Better Days. This is the second series that came out, obviously, by the order, although it comes first or second, I guess, depending on how you want to count that short story. So right up front, before we get into things, the issue with the story as a whole is it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about this with the Buffy stuff as well, that if you decide that you're going to do a prequel, because this came out post-Serenity.
Oh, yeah.
So we already have the show. We already have the movie that is the continuation of the show. And now we're doing some comics, which is all great. But the problem with a prequel is that you really need to have a very clear story to tell, or it will come off as kind of meh.
Yeah. It has one thing that it starts to move forward that we'll get into. Comparatively, the 3 issues that we're going to cover next time, which were the original bridge between the show and the movie, there are a ton of points to that. That book has all the reason in the world to be where it is.
Let's make this clear. It's not that this is anything bad, or that it doesn't seem like the characters, or it doesn't fit in with the show. It just doesn't really...
Too much.
Yeah, it doesn't fill in a lot of the gaps.
I feel like the reason that this book exists is a desire to tell a story with the full cast, seeing as how, they're not all there after Serenity.
Right, and I can totally be on board with that as well. I mean, literally, you own a page from it. Yeah, so I love the idea of it. I just wish that there was a little bit more to it.
So let's just dive into it now that we've kind of spent a couple minutes being like, it's no good, it's fine.
It's not. That's not it at all. It's fine. It's good. It's just, especially when it's compared to the next 3 issues.
I feel like you're really trying to it's fine. We'll get into it.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
Don't worry, we'll call it for what it is. So we open issue 1 with a weapons manufacturer. I forget his name. We'll call him Weapons Manufacturer. I don't even know if he ever gets a name, to be honest. I forgot.
He has a mustache. That's how I recognized him. Mustache man.
He opens saying that he is going to be giving a weapons demonstration, and we're going to see how this works against some kind of thieves. If only we knew some thieves.
Too bad that we don't. It's also like a weird Transformer car thing, by the way.
Transformers.
I've never actually seen any Transformers movies. Is that actually like a Transformer?
No.
Okay, well,
That's fine.
In any case.
So we turn the page and we find that everyone is involved in the heist. We have our usual crew of Mal, Jane, and Zoe, but also there are Simon.
Wearing fancy red glasses.
Which is actually, for as much as we're like, this doesn't do anything, I actually really like this. Simon is wearing those stupid red glasses he was wearing in the pilot that never came up again and looked really out of place. It turns out that the reason Simon has these stupid looking glasses is that they protect him from retina scans from Alliance Security.
Which makes so much sense. And so, yeah, that's a hugely awesome point for this book.
Yeah, I mean, when I got issue 1, I'm like, oh, cool. Fix those dumb looking things. Now they have a purpose. And Simon is there inside of an art museum to get antiquities that they'll be able to sell, including Jane picking up an ashtray and being sad that it's not worth anything.
Funny that ashtrays are still around in the present.
Funnier, they load all this up on a truck that says Express Cargo, except it's still that kind of dumbass thing of spelling Express with just an X because it's hardcore and extreme.
Extreme with an X?
I hate that.
You set yourself up for that.
Ugh.
So anyway, we're like in our little getaway van, and
it's just a truck. I like that it's not like crazy high tech.
Yeah.
It's just a truck.
And all of a sudden, the big red flying transformer thing, I'm going to keep calling it a transformer.
That's
Don't
fine,
care
because
if
it
it's not.
transforms later.
See? It does. So the big red flying transformer Transformer thing comes attacking their van, and Zoe can't quite outrun it before it hits them.
It's fine.
It also looks like the Turtles van.
It's just a dump truck.
It kind of looks like the Turtles van.
The robot that's following them is kind of a hovercraft with wings on the side of it and a big eye in the middle. A high-speed chase ensues, and then we do get an issue that I have with some of these books. Jane opens up the back of the truck and starts firing 2 massive automatic weapons, which is interesting visually, but since we're already going from live action into this form, the guns that Jane has could not be held one-handed, let alone dual-wielded.
No, I don't know anything about guns, but I believe you.
His arms would just immediately shoot up into the air from the recoil.
Yeah, it looks really cool though.
Yeah.
Jane's also constantly smoking a cigar in this issue.
Why not?
Which just makes me smile.
Jane notes that these guns don't do a single scratch against this robot, which is funny because we're going to see them be super vulnerable later. I hate that trope in things.
But not yet. And so Mustache Man is watching this all on the camera, evidently from the Transformer.
Giving his weapons demonstration, showing that they'll be caught.
And so they do some fancy driving.
And by fancy driving, you mean drive off of a freeway to a lower part of the freeway, so they should be dead.
And then they escape out of the back of their truck in their own fancy little vehicle.
With the new mule, the one that we see in Serenity, the one that's an upgrade from the 4-wheeler.
Yeah. And so they're all just chilling in there.
Well, not really chilling. They're running away in their hovercraft.
Yes.
They try and go into some kind of underground tunnel where they don't think that this flying weapon will be able to follow them, only for it to tuck its wings in and set out wheels, so it continues just to drive after them.
Yep.
So Mal has the genius plan to jump off of the mule for some reason, but it turns out this was the heist all along, and Kaylee drops down out of nowhere only to disable it, and then they steal the weapon.
Right. Now, Mustache Man is very upset because not only did his demonstration go poorly, but the petty thieves that he was supposed to catch actually caught his Transformer.
All of the buyers leave, only for him to punch a screen, clenching his fist, and goes, "Reynolds." Which is weird.
That he knows him by name.
They have a vendetta, and I don't think these two know each other.
Yeah, it is a little odd.
Vendetta.
V4. I watched that movie.
Cool.
I didn't really like it.
We cut away from that page to go to a very vibrant page of Mal and Inara getting it on.
Yeah, but then we see that it's really not Mal, it's really...
An Alliance soldier, and Inara is just fantasizing about having sex with Mal.
They're chatting as they do.
What's weird is I know you weren't thinking about me. Good pillow talk.
I mean, it's all very weird because she's a companion. So they're talking about things, and he's like, yeah, I'm really just on this planet to...
catch the Dust Devils. Which, what are Dust Devils, you may ask? Well, they were brown coat extremists who continued to fight after the war and would do things like shoot civilians and yada yada yada. Just crazy. I guess you can't call them domestic terrorists because there's no real domestic part of this.
Right, but they kind of sounded like IRA tactics in Ireland. That's what it sounded more like than anything.
Extreme guerrilla warfare. And
so the Alliance has contracted some people to go out and basically take them down at any cost.
Said Dust Devils.
And kill them.
Go.
And so he, our lovely Alliance guy, announces that he's there to catch some Dust Devils, but that Inara wouldn't know them because...
she's a classy broad.
Yeah.
Cutting back to Serenity, we see them selling the weapon to some guy who has grills, so I guess grills are still a thing in the future.
Are those grills? I thought they were braces. No, I think you're probably right that they're grills. I just saw them as braces.
You thought it was just an orthodontist was on this planet?
I did. Well, people are going to have bad teeth in the future.
An adult orthodontist.
So?
I know they exist.
It is not that weird. Anyway, so they go to sell...
the weapon, except for one part of it, which will make it run, and it turns out this individual doesn't have money, but offers them a location where they can get a bunch of cash, and then after they get all the cash, they'll send them the other part.
And then we get to a very special page, and I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, cutting to the interior of the ship, we see our first scene of everyone in the dining hall, and what's interesting about this page is this will be the final image we see of all 9 characters in one shot.
And that would be the reason that it's hanging in our house.
Yeah, I own that page. It was the first page of art I ever bought.
Yep.
I was going to buy it on eBay, but then I got cold feet at the last second, probably because I was poor, and then I found it at New York Comic Con, and I bought it in person instead.
You were probably still poor.
Yeah, it probably was/am. But so this is going to give me a chance to talk about the art, because we were dealing with Will Conrad as our main penciler. We've talked about him before doing Angel Season 10. And this, honestly, it brings all of the art down for me, but not because of him. I look at the penciled page that he's done. The pencils are what we have. We don't have any inks on it. They are incredible. incredibly detailed. It is a gorgeous page.
It really is lovely. It's shaded and
The
very carefully drawn. So much work has been put into this page.
And I don't think it's the inker, but I think it comes down to the colors. The colors muddy it up. And you don't get those fine details that are in just this lovely piece of art, which I assume goes for all of his work. And none of it looks bad in here, but it looks muddy in comparison to the fine pencil work that he did.
I mean, you think about the galley of the ship, and it's all kind of brownish, and everybody's clothes are also all kind of brownish, except for Anara's sometimes, and Kaylee's. But even in this scene, Anara and Kaylee are also kind of in that red-brown
I just look at the faces, and they all look like
thing.
mud.
Yeah.
Compared to what they look like with the original work, which looks much better. So it's too bad that the final product you're not really seeing as high of quality as it should look.
But rest assured that the original pages are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Or at least this one is, and I can't imagine that it was
Yeah.
any different than the others.
That was the only page he really tried on. That's why
The
I
other
bought
ones
it.
were just like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good in the finished product, but it doesn't look as good as it should.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it turns out this form of payment they're going to go to is by going to a Buddhist temple and stealing money.
As one does.
And most of them sign off on it. Mal's like, it doesn't matter, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So they all go to the temple. They just put a wire around Buddha, lift him up, go underneath it, and find a ton of cash. And it turns out it's not the amount that they were promised, it's much more. And that they're finally rich. It's millions of dollars or whatever they have in the future.
Units?
I mean,
Are they units?
They're literally holding up $1,000 bills.
Yeah. No, they are very,
a lot
very
of
rich.
$1,000 bills.
And they all just kind of stare at each other because they don't really know what to do.
Yeah, because they're so used to living on the edge.
And so we immediately cut to Jane's fantasy.
In issue 2, issue 1 complete.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. We don't know if you mentioned it.
We don't normally, yeah. So we cut to Jane's fantasy where he is standing
on the
in
bridge of a ship.
Yeah, and he's in a very fancy uniform, and he's commanding all sorts of people.
The name of his ship is the Radiant Cobb.
Yes. And he's commanding all sorts of people, and he's very authoritative and in charge.
And the Alliance is even afraid of him.
And then we cut back to everybody just laughing at him.
Yeah, because what we're
As
doing
you would.
is we are all telling our fantasies of what are you going to do with your share of millions. And they all think it's really stupid that Jane's wearing a fancy military uniform and he has a really obedient crew and his ship's name is the Radiant Cobb.
And so Wash goes on to tell his fantasy, and he and Zoe are living on like a floating island ship thing. It's luxurious, whatever it is.
They literally say that it's a luxury cruiser.
Does that mean it's like a fancy RV?
I think it means...
In the future? A fancy RV?
No, I think they just go on space cruises, all inclusive, and Wash just pilots it.
And Zoe's like, I'm not on board with this. And then all of a sudden Zoe shows up with a baby and a little kid in the fantasy, and she's like, I'm on board with this now, let's do it.
Yeah.
And the little kid is playing with one of Wash's dinosaurs.
And we've had a conversation relatively recently in the show of how Wash wasn't sure if he was ready for kids because they're on the edge, but if they have money, then Wash is ready to take that next step with Zoe, which is all the sadder because, you know, of that whole impaling through the chest thing.
Yes. But let's not dwell on that yet because he's still alive and I'm still happy.
Mal refuses to tell what his fantasy is because it involves a bunch of sexual oddities, as he puts it. And then we get to a full splash page, which is gorgeous, of the ship arriving on some kind of very fancy planet where they're on vacation.
It's like a floating sky island type situation, and it's awesome. And so they go to a fancy hotel because what else would you do?
What I think is interesting here, to mention the art again, is we're kind of seeing a transition from Mal's clothes from his show clothes into the movie clothes. Because, you know, in the show, it's just, you know, what you would regularly wear with like a button up and he has suspenders. But the movie has those weird straps kind of going across and the more plastic or metal suspenders, I guess. Well, I think they were plastic. But so we have a transition. We see Mal in the shirt that has the straps going across his chest and across his stomach, but he's still wearing the old leather suspenders. So I think it's fun seeing that transition.
Yeah, there is some cool
Attention to detail.
Yeah, no, clearly the people who put this together love this property. And you can hear it in the writing.
It's fine. I don't think we've really insulted it.
I know that people
because it's
take
not
a
worth
lot of time
insulting.
to do this.
I think this is, like I said, it's good. It's just doesn't move much forward. A couple of little things here and there, but overall.
Okay, that's fair.
But we've mentioned this already, so let's just move on. We see that Inara is making another appointment with the Alliance soldier that she saw before, and Mal's a little upset. He's like, "Oh, it's a working vacation for you, is it?" Only for Inara to confront Mal, asking what a dust devil is. He says that he wasn't one, but he said they were a bunch of strong-minded folk that the Alliance might have a different definition for them.
So during all this, we cut back to our little Alliance buddy, who finds out that Inara has been traveling with Mal, and that Mal is evidently the dust devil that we're looking for. drama.
Only to cut over to one of the best pages of this book. We see Book is telling his fantasy, and he looks like
All sorts
hang
of
on.
debauchery.
Al Pacino in Scarface. He's smoking a cigar. He has an open robe surrounded by money and alcohol and cocaine and guns, and there are two scantily clad women just rubbing him down.
Yes. And he's sitting in this giant leather chair. You forgot that part, behind a desk.
And everyone is just staring at him. To the point where there's onomatopoeia of blink, blink, just silence. And
then
they just laughs at them. He's like, yeah, I'm kidding. I just give it to the Abbey. I do love that image, though, just of Book as a drug lord.
My favorite part, too, is that he's just mysterious enough that they all believe it for half a second. They're like, we don't really know anything about you.
We then cut to Simon and River packing up to go on vacation. And Simon mentioned that it's just like their home used to be. River, enjoying a good story, asked Simon to tell his fantasy to River again. And he goes, I kind of imagined after everything was done, we'd be able to go home and just work on science together. But that's never going to happen because they're wanted fugitives. So he's like, oh, but this place is safe. Don't worry about it. And River, very ominously, in her River kind of way, is just like, this place isn't safe.
Yeah. Why don't we listen more to River is my real life question.
And then Jane interrupts Simon to ask him about companion protocol.
Because Jane is like, I just wanted to go find a woman, and you can't do that. You have to flatter them and stuff.
We don't see the whole conversation, but we see the end of it Jane going, and then I stick it in. And Simon's like, no, companions aren't prostitutes. You need to be charming and be formal and sensitive. He's like, okay, I do all that, and then I stick it in? Because Jane's a classy guy.
Jane is a classy guy, as we could tell from his classy fantasy. So we immediately cut over to the next page to our Grills guy.
We'll call him Grills.
To Grills, who is being tortured.
We'll never see him after this page, so it's fine.
By Mustache Guy. So it's confusing. I'm so sorry. I wish that I knew names. But
I don't
Grills,
even know if they give him names.
I don't think they do. So Mustache Guy is upset because he lost his transformer. And so he's pulling out Grills Guy's teeth. Yeah, they're definitely not braces.
Yeah. He works so hard on them with his grills.
He's pulling out his teeth one by one.
Super gross.
It's very graphic.
He says that he doesn't know where Mal is. He's like, oh, that's too bad. Also too bad you didn't have your wisdom teeth taken out. Side note, I should have my wisdom teeth taken out just in case I get tortured. It also turns out it doesn't really matter. He didn't need to torture this guy because the piece that they took off put off a tiny little robot that went onto Kaylee as a tracker.
So they know exactly where the gang is in this fancy hotel vacation spot thing.
And then Kaylee tells her fantasy, and using subtext for the whole thing, she talks about how she'd go back home with her dad and they'd really build up his garage and work on a bunch of parts, including things that may have broken in the past on Serenity, like compression coils, more compression coils, which I liked. And her fantasy also involves Simon bringing her flowers, and then they have sex.
Yes. Or they just sit there. We can't really tell.
We can tell a lot from that.
Anyway.
From that sweatiness and positioning. Yeah.
And then we see...
This is a smutty book.
It is a little bit. So then we see River's fantasy.
Which is probably the best page in the book.
This was my favorite thing. I just stared at it for 3 minutes straight. So River's in this lovely purple ball gown, dancing with a whale in a isn't he in a top hat? No, he just has on tails.
He has a tux. He has a bow tie and a tux.
It's not a whale either. It's just a fish, I think.
But it's
person-sized.
But
there's definitely a castle in the sky, and there's also a dragon.
And a fairy, and a llama, and a yellow submarine, and
some
candy
canes,
and a bunny.
I love everything about this fantasy.
There's a frog playing a trumpet being carried by a balloon.
And, okay, here's where I was upset. So I was cool seeing everybody else's, visual imagery of their fantasy, but I just want to hear River describing this fantasy.
I remember this
how do you
page
do
going
that?
for a lot more than most of them because it's so out there.
It's so cool. I bet it did.
And then
yeah.
They're all in a hot tub, all the girls are in a hot tub together. And then I love Zoe. She just goes, well, now mine's taken. Later that evening, we see that Jane was unsuccessful in getting a companion.
So he drinks away his woes.
Only for them to all get robbed. Oh no!
I know.
Or an attempted robbery.
By a gun-wielding lady.
A woman comes in, firing her gun into the sky, and Mal asks Wash if he can give him a little shade. So what Wash does is he takes a serving tray, has light reflect on it, reflects it into a camera, which apparently controls how light and dark the windows are. So because there's a bright light shining at their light sensor, all of the windows go dark immediately. This gun is apparently solar powered, and they kick them all into a fountain, and they get electrocuted by their electric guns, and they all die.
It's a weird couple of panels to throw together, because so far this issue has gone it's been paced relatively evenly, right?
Yeah,
so we've had people's fantasies interspersed with the action that's happening, and then all of a sudden, like, a lot of things happen in one page.
Yeah, it takes a second to really look at it to figure out what's going on. But then all these people are dead, and all of the rich people applaud the dead. Oh, they're happy that they're dead. So yay! Afterwards, Mal and Zoe are talking, watching a beautiful sunset, and for as much crap as I gave the colors earlier, this is a very pretty sunset color-wise.
It is. It's lovely. And also it feels like there's more detail in this page for whatever reason. Like the colors seem to have kept it. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I like it.
It just
it's lovely.
pops. Zoe goes up to Mal and mentioning how it's nice being the good guys in public where people can notice. And Mal, being Mal, is on edge because he saw an Alliance cruiser come down. And Zoe's like, oh, they're going over to Inara's shuttle. He's like, this actually might be about the Dust Devils because Inara was asking me. So, concerned for Inara's safety, Mal goes and gets his gun and sees Inara's shuttle parked off by itself.
So he goes up to it, and who comes out but Simon comes out of the shuttle. So Mal is taken aback.
And then he's knocked out. Someone hits him from behind. So the implication here is that Simon and Inara have just had sex. I guess spoilers for a thing that's never been officially put into the story but has been told by the creators, so let's just deal with it. Inara's dying, and that has been going on for the entire series. That's why she left the main companion training house and all that crap, why she's been running around. And there are all these hints throughout the series. When I say hints, I mean like real throwaway lines. Like watching commentaries like, oh, that's a hint to Inara's past. It's a line like Inara's like, I don't want to die at all. Apparently that means, oh, I have a terminal disease.
Yes.
Hinted at very poorly.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on. So
although this one I actually don't mind at all. This one feels a little more pointed as a hint.
Yeah, so when I was saying that this moves things forward a little bit, this does move Inara's disease forward a little bit. So this might actually come back up in the future, but this book is also starting to get some years on it, so who knows if that's what they're gonna do with that. Hopefully they continue with it. But yeah, the implication is that Simon had sex with Inara, but really she's just dying, and apparently he knows about it.
Yeah. We found out from that little short that he doesn't care about patient confidentiality with Jane, but I feel like he feels very differently with Inara.
Well, he likes her.
Well, yeah.
That's
She
the
didn't try to
difference.
sell him out.
That's fair. Ending issue 2. Did they have sex? The answer is no. So-
Yeah. But we turn the page, and Alliance guy is punching Mal in the face. He's torturing him.
So much torture in these books.
Yeah.
He's just beating up Mal. He's like, oh, you're a dust devil, you son of a bitch.
Blah, blah, blah.
And we cut back to the weapons manufacturer.
His mustache has changed dramatically.
Boy, I really wish these people had names.
But his
I
mustache
don't
is-
think they did.
His mustache is his one defining feature, and it has changed dramatically
Now he's Tom Selleck.
from kind of a pencil mustache to Tom Selleck.
We're calling him Tom Selleck for the rest of this. Tom Selleck.
My gosh, because when I first read this book, I was a little bit confused about what was happening because it's a different mustache, and that was my one defining feature on him. Anyway, it's the same guy.
He gets a call from corporate saying that he has been terminated due to his poor weapons performance.
Makes sense. He lost the weapon.
Yeah, and he's working on another weapon. What could it be?
It's also red.
It's basically the same weapon.
It's another Transformer.
With Mal being gone for a while, Zoe tracks his footsteps to just outside of Inara's shuttle, asking Inara if she knows where Mal is. She's like, he was literally over there. Inara's like, I don't know, man. That's weird. I'm not hiding anything. Shut up.
And so Zoe looks around and she's like, yeah, I think he was probably kidnapped.
Yeah, Mal came looking for your client and he was taken. So, don't feel guilty about that or anything.
Zoe's not very happy, though.
No. They'll go back to the galley, the best room on the ship, and she admits to everyone that she was a dust devil and it wasn't Mal.
Right.
Drama.
I know. Okay, here's my problem, though.
I buy it.
I do and I don't. Zoe is so order-driven.
Well, what we learn about Zoe here is that Zoe was career military. Mal was a volunteer, and that she couldn't really shake that after the Alliance won the war.
I could totally believe all of those things, but I just find it odd to think that Zoe would resort to senseless violence against civilians because she didn't know what to do.
We also don't know if that's what she actually did.
Right, and also,
It's vague enough that...
we don't have any
Yeah.
description of what the Dust Devils actually did other than what Alliance guy says that they did. So,
Yeah.
like Mustache guy, I don't really trust him.
Tom Selleck,
Tom Selleck, what are we going to call Alliance guy?
Alliance guy.
Oh.
Wash comes forward. He's like, hey, I don't really care that you were a dust devil. It's fine. It's in the past, but you have a bad plan. And what's her bad plan? She's gonna turn herself over.
Yeah, if I were Wash, I would definitely think that's a bad plan too.
Kaylee then hacks into the Alliance's system, transmitting Zoe's message,
Basically saying, I'm turning myself in. I'm the dust devil that you're looking for.
which is kind of weird considering the future. I wish they had found a different way to do this, because Kaylee is able to project a message on all available screens. And then, let's cut to a few months later in the movie, and they need someone who can project on all available screens.
Mr. Universe, maybe they contacted him in the meantime.
Kaylee does it.
I'm trying to come up with it. I'm trying to help out
I wish they had done something different.
something.
Isn't that a little bit of a plot hole?
Maybe they're only the available screens on that planet because they know that the Alliance guys are on that planet.
But
I'm
still.
going to go with that one.
Either way, Zoe's like, yeah, you want me, give Mal back, meet me in the desert unless you're a coward. So then Alliance guy beats up Mal a bunch more.
Yeah. And so they're just hanging out in the desert with Jane as their sniper. And by they, I mean Zoe and Wash are hanging out in the desert waiting for the Alliance guys to come.
And as we've seen on the drop in the pilot episode, Jane is off in the woods ready to snipe away. Everyone else gets their necessary positions inside of the casino-esque thing that they're staying in.
To watch out for any incoming people and that kind of thing.
Villainous people, yeah. The Alliance touches down, and it's the same kind of ship design that we saw throughout the show. So, again, one credit's due as far as attention to detail. There is a lot of that in this.
So the Alliance guys walk Mal off the ship to do the exchange, and right as they're about to do the exchange, and right as Jane is in position, all of a sudden there's a giant fwoom, and the Alliance ship explodes.
Oh no. And everyone's really confused. And we have a weird...
To be fair, I was kind of confused too.
And then there's a weird convergence of plot points where Tom Selleck arrives in his own ship, starts shooting at everything. Jane can't pierce the hull of this thing.
Again.
He has a lot of trouble with piercing. We see one of the Alliance soldiers has snuck onto Serenity, ready to...
River beats him up.
Yeah, ready to kill everyone. And River, without looking, just kicks him in the throat and kills him.
Yeah.
He's dead now.
Great. So anyway, as Mal kind of rolls away from Alliance control because his hands are still tied together.
Handcuffed, if you will.
Yeah. Giant red transformers come off of the mustache guy's ship.
Yeah,
But these ones walk.
I'm not a big fan of this. This feels like something that we didn't really see anything even close to in the show. I'm fine moving the technology forward and showing us something different, but these feel like something out of 1950s science fiction and not something that belongs in this universe.
These look more like the Fugitoid from
Turtles.
The Turtles. Don't they?
I guess that's a weird call. And then these robots that were previously impervious to bullets, one of them is decapitated because Book comes out of nowhere with a homemade sword. So,
it's like a machete.
They're weak now.
Yeah, and he's like, you just have to cut off their heads.
Yeah, he can get into the fight because they're robots, and robots don't have souls, so he doesn't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
The Alliance...
Also very Turtle-esque.
Oh, yeah.
With all the foot soldiers.
87 style.
Yeah.
Our main Alliance guy looks like he's going to shoot Mal, but really he shoots a robot behind him and tosses Mal his gun, because they're friends now.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird unspoken friendship. It's also very confusing because unless you've kept up with the fact that Tom Selleck is against Mal and doesn't care who he kills in the meantime, it's just all, it's a whirlwind.
If he just hadn't blown up that Alliance ship, everyone probably would have been fine with Mal dying.
Yeah,
So
really.
that's really his fault. So they team up together trying to shoot this guy down. Nothing works. Mal goes to the back of the mule that Zoe and Wash came out on, throws a winch into the air. It just happens to catch this guy's ship.
It's because he's Batman.
Okay, cool. It hooks the ship, and because the mule is, apparently stronger than this ship that's much larger than it, the ship comes crashing into the ground, killing this man. And then Mal and the Alliance guy part because who the hell knows?
And nobody ever talks about the fact that Zoe is the Dust Devil. That was the part that kind of bugged me, as I was like, shouldn't the Alliance guy at least I don't know. They just kind of leave.
Yeah, and then Wash is like, hang on, there's one more thing. And he punches out the Alliance guy because he wanted to take his wife for her terroristic actions.
Okay, and here is my most confusing part of this whole thing. At the bottom of this page, all of a sudden this vehicle drives away with these two people in it, and they mention something that the money's getting away.
Yeah, we see in the interior of the ship, these guys had come in and taken the money. I assume they were the Alliance guys?
It must have been, because Mustache Guy died, and he didn't really have any associates.
Yeah, it's very vague and unclear who these people are who took the money.
Yeah.
Oh, it turns out the Alliance guy's name was Sanda. We should have mentioned that. Found it.
Well, there you go.
Sanda and Tom Selleck.
And here's the interesting part.
What?
So, Inara's patching up Mal, kind of, or...
I think she's just pouring him
some tea. And she's like, that's so interesting that your best hiding place on the ship, that they would come to it and not look anywhere else and just take the money and go. How weird is that, Mal?
So the reason, which we'll get to on the next page, is apparently in the torture, Mal told them where the money was.
Except that's not very Mal-esque.
Now, Mal also berates Inara about, like, hey, you're not supposed to service crew members. I love her line. She's like, my affairs are... And he just goes, oh, and it's an affair now. Stop. It's very Mal, but at the same time, like, stop being you. You is petty.
You used poor grammar.
And this is the line that we do have the hint that it wasn't a sex thing. Inara just says, Simon's my friend. He's also a doctor.
And Mal doesn't really have any follow-up with that. He's just like, okay.
Well, that's because she cuts him off. He's like, and which of those? She goes, you've heard all you're going to.
Again, fair.
Yeah. So then they're like, hey, we're going to get you to the place where you're going to leave the ship. And Inara's like, yeah, that secret hiding place. They definitely knew right where to go. And... yeah, I guess.
And Inara says...
why not? Let's just do the end of this, because we haven't really done that yet.
Okay.
You can be the lady.
Gee, thanks.
Inara.
You didn't even seem surprised they found your very best hiding place, without looking anywhere else.
Guess I'm just unlucky.
You're professionally unlucky, Malcolm. Actual luck must terrify you. All those fantasies about what the crew wants to do with their lives, but you're doing it. You get by and the crew stays together. You get rich, then everything does change.
This is where I am, Inara. Ain't a place of wishes.
I have a wish. I wish the next time you do something so selfish, it wouldn't be so sweet.
Yeah, it kind of ends poorly.
It ends weirdly because it's so unlike Mal. I can see him pretending like the Alliance guys got the money while really stashing it away for a hard time. I don't know. It just seems weird. It doesn't seem like something Mal would do.
And considering we know where the story is about to go, because that story has already happened by the time this one was written, we know that they're next to broke by the time Serenity starts. The ship is falling apart. Literally, pieces are falling off of it. No one's eating food.
And that's kind of the point.
So, maybe hang on to a buck or two, or all of it.
They're always broke. And so, I just don't get it. That's not like something Mal would do unless Mal bought Zoe's freedom.
No.
I mean, that's the only...
No,
That's the only thing that makes sense in my brain, as opposed to...
Yeah, that's definitely not what happened.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept of going, what would they do if they had money? But then for Mal to just kind of undercut everything, it's not sweet, it's selfish.
Yeah, yes. I don't know. It
keep
also...
everyone strung out. It's
I was
like,
also
I want to
totally
keep the
on
family
board.
together by making us have really crappy lives.
I was also
That's when
totally
we're at
on
our
board
best.
with all of this until that moment, because every other decision felt very much like what the characters would do.
The character voices are all right on. The art,
character fantasies are right on.
Yeah. The art is gorgeous. Like I said, it's unfortunate that it kind of got muddied up a bit in the final product. But where this really kind of falls apart is in plot. Like, we have these two converging plots, neither one of which we have a lot of background information on or a lot of investment in. And it's just so convenient when they all converge at the end that when this drop happens, that just happens to be when the weapons manufacturer catches up with them, and then they all fight together, and it's really fast and wrapped up quickly. And then the ending with the whole money thing is weird, and it just, yeah. The first two issues fare a lot better than the last one. The last one kind of falls off.
So,
again, from a plot point, voices, perfect. Art, great. But yeah, the plot...
What it feels like is that they had all these cool ideas. Like, what if the crew actually got rich for a little bit? And then, obviously, you have to go back to status quo, so they have to lose it somehow. But what if that happened? And what if Mal and Zoe's past caught up with them a little bit more? It did a little bit with that soldier that they knew when he came on the ship, blah, blah, blah. But what if it caught up in a different way? What if their own actions caught up with them a little bit more?
Or
but then they
do
just squished it
something
all together.
altruistic with the money. Like, the way the money leaves is Mal gives it over to the Alliance, not they do something. Even books like, I'd give it to the Abbey. Do that. Help someone. Help something. No, not just give it to the government.
I know, and I cannot imagine a world in which Mal willingly gives money to the Alliance. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I can see him not throwing it away, but giving it away to something that's much less, I don't know, like giving it to the brothel in that.
Yeah, give it back to...
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry, that was not very clear to any of the listeners.
From Heart of Gold, that whole place that no longer has a leader, and Inara's like, they're all whores, and maybe that's where Jane got a venereal disease. I don't know.
Maybe, but give them the money to rebuild, because everything got shot up quite literally when that guy tried to steal the baby.
Yeah.
And I can see Mal doing something like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The third issue is kind of...
They set up some cool ideas, and I just wish that either they had more time to kind of explore them for real, or that they hadn't tried to wrap them up together, or that they hadn't tried to do both ideas in one 3-issue mini series.
Thankfully for me, this one isn't bad, but I think it's definitely the weakest one that's come out so far. Everything else that we do feels feels like it has a real point to it with all the stories, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting to the next one, which is really the bridge between the show and the movie, finding out Shepherd Book's backstory, and then getting into post-movie stuff, which is the most exciting, I think.
Yeah, you do have a special affinity for Serenity and Firefly.
Yeah, but yeah, this one's fine. The reading order's confusing as all hell, but whatever. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
We'll be back next week to talk more in between stuff.
So we'll talk to you guys then.
Well, we should probably plug.
Oh, that's right.
My God, it's like we haven't done this in a few weeks. It hasn't even been that long.
I know, but
It's been
before
like
that
2
was a
weeks.
long time.
If you want to find the show, get it a whole week early. We are back weekly for the month of July. Also, we're going to have Patreon exclusive Buffy reviews up, and we're going to be back twice in August, I believe. Yeah, all those shows will be up a week early over on patreon.com/editorsnotecomics, a minimum of $1 a month.
Gets you all sorts of cool stuff this summer.
Also my other show, but yeah.
It gets you that a day early. You get to say hi to Jared.
And everything can be found at editorsnotecomics.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you want to email us for any reason, editorsnotecomics.
Or just to say hi.
Yeah, hey all you Twitter people.
I don't have Twitter. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I speak for you.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
But yeah, we'll be back next week. Hoo-hoo.
Fancy. We'll talk to you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.